Welcome to another episode of Outside Shots with your boy, Jump Shot 8, Eddie Johnson in the house. I'm Saul. Bookman, thank you so much for joining us on another beautiful morning in the Valley. I mean, it's like 70 degrees. It's perfect weather, sunny skies. I mean, hey, we couldn't have picked a better Monday to get this started, and we have a lot to get to. EJ, how was your last week? You had a lot going on.
I'm fatigued. I'm tired, but it was worth it. That's all I got to say about it. I'm not glad it's over, but I'm glad it's over.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you did well. Don't one thing, your relationship and being next to me has been very fruitful for you. So you need to always be nice to me, okay? That's all I'm going to say. All I'm going to say is this dude finished in the top 5 in my poker tournament, and if you need a loan, you can get it from his behind, okay? All I'm going to tell you is it was $19,000 in that pot. It was $19,000. And for you people that did not come to our poker tournament for Helping Hands for Single Moms this past week and pay $200 to get into a tournament, hobnob with celebrities, have a good time, eat food, get free drinks. Like I set it up for him to get free drinks. I paid the tip, okay? He didn't know that. All those good things, and he still walked away with a ton. I didn't get nothing, okay? All I get is hugs and thank yous. I love you, Eddie. You do a good job. Oh, you're just so supportive of organizations. You're just out there. You and your wife are just so active in the community, and you do such a great job. But I looked at my damn wallet. I didn't see nothing.
He just put you on blast.
Ask Saul,
Okay.
did he see something in his wallet?
Okay. All right. Let's just pump the brakes here, killer. First, I was up until 4:00 in the morning at those tables trying to win, right? What time did EJ leave? He left like midnight. Okay. If you would have stuck around, you'd have seen that I took care of the people that were there all night long. Like I gave them a percentage of my winnings because they deserve it. Like the dealers have been there all night. They deserve it. The servers that were there all night, they deserve it. If you had stuck around, I probably would have slid you, a bill or two.
You know what's so funny about what you just said?
It's just like, I'm just saying, if you want to see the fruits of your labor, you got to stick it out to the end. That's all I'm saying.
You stuck around because you were making money. I wasn't making anything. I went to bed.
You know what's so funny is I honestly didn't know that.
Oh, when I told you.
I didn't know that. I thought there was only one final amount that was going to be issued out, right? I didn't realize it was a trickle-down effect. So if you placed.
I told Saul, I say, Saul, you know what the pot is? Hey, look. I said, it's 19,000.
Yeah, I had no idea.
His eye, I thought his eyes were ready to bust out of his face. Hey.
I didn't know.
And then all of a sudden he got serious. See, so, just thank EJ. Thank EJ for paying your house note.
Okay, calm down.
So now you all know what he put in his pockets. Okay? All right? He can pay the house note.
I mean,
and then maybe take the missus to a dinner.
But you don't know how much the house note is.
No, I guarantee you can pay the house note.
Yeah, good.
So say you can.
Oh, man. All right, listen, I couldn't predict what was going to happen on Thursday, but I can predict what is about to happen this season with your beloved Suns. We got a lot of ideas and thoughts about how we can see this season unfold. I think there's a lot more excitement this year. I think last year there was excitement going into the season, but there was still this relative unknown in terms of how this was all going to unfold and how it play out. I think this season there's a little bit more excitement, especially based on how the preseason went and how we saw some of these pieces fit together. I'm very excited for this year. You're very excited for this year. And we're going to get to our first prediction, which is courtesy of EJ. And he thinks that the Suns will reach 53 wins this year, which if they had 53 wins last year, they would have finished 4th in the West. Mm-hmm. This 53 win mark seems very attainable, especially considering how awful of a fourth quarter team they were a season ago. EJ, 53 wins would be pretty decent.
Yeah, and looking, Oklahoma City won 57 last year. Suns won 49, despite bad fourth quarters, one of the worst in the history of the game at one point. And then obviously about 33 to 40 games missed between our big three. Still was able to carve out 49 wins. So 53 doesn't seem like too much, right? If they played a little bit more than they did last year, a little bit more cohesion, they have a point guard. Matter of fact, they got 3 of them. Then you would like to think that they can add on 4 more wins. No, that's not how I looked at it. I looked at it as if the West is going to be very difficult. Like those 53 wins could quite honestly be the best in the West. I truly believe it. With teams that are improved, you name me a team in the West that you can say you can walk in their building or they can come in your building and it's an easy win.
Yeah.
I know people immediately might say Portland, but, again, they got talent on that team. Like Portland beat us last year on our home floor. So, yeah, that's why 53 wins in the West is really going to be good.
Yeah, I would be a little surprised if it was only 53 in my opinion, just because of that fourth quarter factor. I think they're going to be just so much better in the fourth quarter. I think their bench is much better and more consistent than they were a year ago. I think you have guys that can be risers and really prove themselves again in the second year with the Suns, like Bol. I think across the board, this team feels like a better overall team from top to bottom than they did a year ago. I think last year we were victim to the hope and the expectation not meeting the reality of the situation with that bench unit specifically. And this year, I just don't see the drop-off being as severe as it was a year ago. I definitely feel like they're going to be way more consistent in that regard. And that should lead to, I would say, 5 to 8 more wins at a minimum, in my opinion. So I totally agree with that. My first prediction this season is that Devin Booker will finish in the top 3 in MVP voting for the first time in his career. He was close a couple seasons ago. I believe he finished top 5. But this year, I just feel, I don't know what it was about the Olympics that made me feel far more confident that it's not about, this was never a Devin Booker situation. Right. It was always a national narrative situation. And I think the Olympics opened the door finally for Devin Booker to get recognized as one of the best players, pound for pound, in the NBA. And I think you're going to see that in voting this year. If the Suns are one of the top teams in the league to start off the season for the first couple months, and Book is grooving the way he was in the Olympics, not necessarily being a top tier scorer. He can, but because he can do so many other things on both ends of the court, I think that's really come to a lot of people's vision, and they can see the path now to where Devin Booker deserves his flowers. And so that's why I think Book is going to be right there at the end of the season, battling for an MVP.
Well, basketball standpoint, he should always be in consideration with his talent and how well he can play. I just think it's very difficult to win an MVP on this team because of Kevin Durant being on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bradley Beal is going to be anywhere from, 16 to 20 points a game. So how do you win an MVP when, quote unquote, around the league where they say, oh, you have a big 3? And, Bradley took his beating last year. And so you could argue last year, okay, it wasn't a big 3, it was a 2.5. But Bradley Beal can play, man, and he was out of position, so he's going to be better. So I think it'll be hard for Devin to actually win an MVP, but it won't be hard for him to place, right, or KD to place. I just believe if they play to the level, Saul, that they're capable of playing, then people are not going to vote for them because what they're going to say is they're stacked. They got 2 all-time greats. And then they got one that borders on superstardom in his career at one point in time, and Bradley Beal. So that part's going to be hard. The voters are really weird with that, man. They push back on Big 3, and was the hatred of LeBron back, when he went to Miami. That's when it started. Seriously, That's when it started. I mean, you think about it. Larry Bird was winning MVPs. He had Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale on his team.
Oh, I know.
Magic was winning MVPs. I mean, and he had Kareem, he had, Worthy, he had tremendous players on his team. So, that's the way I look at it. And so, Michael Jordan had tremendous players on his team with Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen. But now people have looked at it differently when LeBron went to Miami, and so that'll be hard.
Yeah, but those years he didn't win MVP.
Who?
Jordan. Not every year he won MVP with those guys.
but yeah, okay, that's fine. But he was up there in regards to being the greatest. He was the guy that was carrying them. I mean, okay, he didn't win them because Karl Malone deserved it one year. They had the best record. So I get it. Argument wise, he could have won definitely 3 or 4 more, as LeBron could have won 3 or 4 more. So yeah, that's what happens. They don't want to give it to, and that goes back again to what I'm saying to you. Is these voters, they change the way that they vote every year, right? They bring the other stuff involved, and I think they'll definitely bring it in on Devin and KD as well.
It's funny that you mentioned that. You brought up Michael Jordan, so I figured, hey, you know what? Let me ask you this little trivia question. There are 4 players in NBA history that have won the MVP, Finals MVP, and been named all defense and in all NBA in NBA history. Do you know who those 4 players are?
Who those 4 players are? No, I don't. But
I'll save you some time.
No,
all 4.
No. Let me.
All 4 are Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Who? Okay. Well, you know what? We can that's fine. But you know what we can do? We can find all kind of stats and add them together as foursomes and threesomes, and LeBron's going to be on a bunch of them by himself.
Nobody said anything about LeBron.
Everything that you say about Jordan is in reference to LeBron.
Because
they're 1-2. That's why. Because they're 1-2. So everything you say against your pick as the greatest ever is in reference to push LeBron back. That's all it is.
No, it isn't.
And I get it.
Why can't we? You brought up Michael Jordan. I brought up Michael Jordan.
Consciously, that's the argument. And you know it and I know it, so stop. It's always to push him back. Because in order to say somebody the greatest, you got to say they're the greatest above somebody else. And that somebody else right now is LeBron. So that's your argument. That's it. So you know it and I know it.
What kind of TV shows have you been watching with your, you think that I'm clever enough to have some hinted? I think you've been watching, you might have been watching like CNN or Fox News a little too much this week, okay?
Subconsciously.
EJ.
I don't watch Fox. Subconsciously. I grazed through that. Don't get me started.
Hey, weren't we doing Suns predictions?
Yeah, anyway.
Don't get me started.
Anyway, okay. So EJ's second prediction this season is that the Suns will be the 2nd seed in the West. All right, EJ, why do you think that the Suns will be the 2nd seed in the West?
Well, I think, during the course of the year, I think it'd be important to maybe at times, if you can, rest KD. And I think, because of that, to be conscious of minutes and all of that, I think, that's going to stop them from maybe getting the number 1 seed. I think Oklahoma City is gung-ho to always try to get it. I think it's going to be close. I'll tell you that. I think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be a runaway at all. And last year proved that point, right? I mean, Minnesota, Denver, and Oklahoma City were right there. I think 1 game separated all 3. So I think it's going to be the same type of race. I find it hard to think that Denver is going to be in that race. I think it's going to be Suns, Minnesota, and Oklahoma City in that race. And I think the Suns are, in my thought, probably finish 2nd in the West. And it's a great position to be in. A lot of times it's better than number 1, as we saw last year.
Yeah. I agree with you on OKC. I'm gonna just kind of take a let's see approach with Minnesota. I
got Minnesota finishing top in the conference.
You think they're going to be number 1 in the conference?
Yeah.
You like the pieces that you like the adjustment from Cat to Julius Randle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. It allows Gobert not to be as scrutinized as he was playing next to Cat. It gives him, more room, I think, to operate. Julius Randle can stretch it out. He's definitely a prototype power forward. And so I think it gives them a traditional lineup, which I think now is really going to help them.
And you also don't think that Dallas is going to finish in that top 3?
No, I think Dallas is going to finish somewhere 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid on that. I'm just not. I love Clay, but Clay is going to be up and down. I think he made a bad choice in where he went.
I would agree with that.
If he had gone there, I'm glad he didn't go to L.A. But if he had gone to L.A. and standing out there, and now Anthony Davis, who gets double teamed every night, LeBron gets double teamed every night. Anywhere on the court, he would have had a field day. He'd have been butt naked for them jumpers. He would have been butt naked.
You gotta love butt naked jumpers.
I just don't think when Dallas, I think he'll be getting the ball from Luka and Kyrie with 3 seconds on the shot clock. They're going to dribble. So, no, I'm glad he went to Dallas. I don't know how much that's going to help them just based on the inconsistency I think he's going to go through.
Interesting. Yeah, we had this conversation about Cat last week. And, that was kind of my stance, was that I thought that the Minnesota Timberwolves got better with Cat than they did, by trading Cat and getting Julius Randle specifically, because I did feel like the pieces and really the DNA of what they're trying to build as a unit defensively, I thought was better suited for a guy like Julius Randle and even Dante DiVincenzo versus Cat. I just feel like the makeup of that team is a little bit more gritty, grimy. That's what they want to be. They want to be a physical team. And Cat didn't really fit that mold to a T. Great player, don't get me wrong. I don't know how much he's going to elevate, the Knicks. I assume offensively they will be a much, much better team. But, the sum of the parts, will it lead to them getting to the finals again? I don't know. That's kind of a little hard to predict with Cat and the way that he's going to fit with that squad. But they got a tremendous team out in New York, without a doubt. So, we got a tremendous team here, a bunch of partners that we love to partner with. But one of my favorites is Branded Bills. Branded Bills is one of the best. It's one of the best hats you could possibly buy out there in the market. It's got this synthetic material. It's stretchy. It's loose. It's breathable. It's great for when you're out there. We were golfing last week on Friday, and it was a tremendous hat to wear. Didn't feel hot. Didn't keep the heat in. It just lets you breathe. It's a great opportunity to get your hands on some Branded Bills merch. I gotta get some Branded Bills for you.
No. Don't feel guilty. Just finish it. Finish.
I'm just saying, man.
You see me looking at you.
I'm like, look at
just finish it.
Beautiful hat right back there.
Yeah, just finish it.
And listen, you can get yourself a hat, and EJ, you can get yourself a hat for 20% off if you use promo code PHNX by going to brandedbills.com. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Get yourself some stylish gear for this nice, beautiful fall season. Golf is it's golf season now. I mean, listen, the greens are going to be out there. They're going to be premium. And EJ is going to rep an ASU hat to despise me. But it is Branded Bills. It looks great. So check it out. Also, our friends over at Circle K, the best convenience store in the biz, one of our favorites. You got to get your hands on their app. It is fantastic. Become part of the inner circle and save yourself 25 cents a gallon for the first 5 fill-ups. And then you could also save yourself 3 to 5 cents a gallon after that. And you can save on a bunch of discounts on food, beverages. Obviously, they got their Frosters and their Polar Pops. Check them out. 79 cents if you just use the Inner Circle app. If you actually plug in your number, you get it for 69 cents, which, Eric?
Nice.
Very nice. It's always nice when you get a nice discount. They save you money. They got deals all the time. Circle K, the most convenient way to get all your snacks for any particular night and the best gas in the biz. So check them out at the Inner Circle and go to circlek.com for more details. All right.
Nice to feel the Branded Bills hat. Closest I've ever gotten to one.
Pretty cool. All right.
EJ, I'll grab you one after the show. You'll walk out with the Branded Bills hat.
There you go. All right. So my second prediction is that Kevin Durant will break his own single season high of 192 made threes. So it kind of goes in conjunction with a couple other things we're going to talk about. But 3-pointers, obviously, this season are going to be paramount. The Suns have already been launching them at a higher clip than they were a season ago. And I just think that Kevin Durant will break his own record of 192. He had 168 for the Suns last season, and I think 192 is definitely feasible. You're talking about 24 more makes for him on the season. I don't see that being a problem. I think he's going to eclipse 200 plus this year because I think he's going to put him up at a higher rate, probably higher than any other time in his career. So that's just my prediction. What do you think about that?
It's doable. I just don't want it to be way over 200 because I think then that means he's taking a ton. I think he's arguably the best mid-range game player in the history of our game. So, I don't want him to just all of a sudden be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
We have enough players on this team to cover that, right? I just think his mid-range game, his shot making in the interior over defenses is just impeccable. And that's Devin as well. And that's Bradley Beal. Like, I know they're going to take a ton, but I don't want those threes to fall onto them. I want it to fall on to Grayson Allen, right? I want it, and even Bradley Beal to a point. All the other guys, I want it to fall on, but not so much our big three. Yeah, take yours, and I agree with you. He'll probably break that record because of the amount of threes that we're going to get up this year, but I don't want him to lose and get away from what made him KD, and that's a guy that can make shots anywhere, and that's going to be something that I'm going to watch all year long, and make sure that my commentary is directed toward that we got to have some fine balance between our guys that we know can go get that 15-footer. Say you're up 2 late in the game, you don't need a 3. You get me? Like, you just need to get that separation. So where would I rather have KD on a shot to get that separation?
Mid-range.
15, 20 feet.
Yeah.
Like, so that's what I'm going to harp on. I just don't want us to try to build leads late in games by everybody chucking threes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get a lead late in the game, get into the interior. You can get fouled. You can get to the free throw line. We got 3 of the best mid-range game shooters in the league. So all those things, man, that we have going for us, I want us to use all our ammunition.
No, I like that. I do think that the first 3 quarters you set the table with the 3-point shot, and then the fourth quarter you kind of just whittle a team down to death. And I like that approach because then the adage, you live by the 3 or die by the 3 is valid, right? And there's been too many times where a team has been hot in the first half and then they've fallen apart in the second half because they fell in love with the 3 and things didn't work out, right? I see this team more, when you looked at KD in the Olympics, right? And obviously we don't have that Olympic squad playing for the Suns, but they have really good players. And you saw KD, he would hit the 3 when it was there and it was wide open. But he also played the mid-range as well, especially as the games got tighter and you were in that fourth quarter. So I think you're going to see basically a mirror image of that this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously, you got Devin Booker as well and Bradley Beal, who are also very good mid-range shooters. And so I would be shocked if the Suns just fell in love with threes in the fourth quarters of games, unless they were behind in order to try and get back in games. I just don't see that happening. I do see them. I think these guys are so smart and they're so grounded that they understand the game at such a high level. They know exactly when to pick and choose their spots to hit threes or hit the mid-range. And I don't think either one of those guys is going to fall in love with threes unless they're just on a heater, which, listen, we all chuck up threes when we're on a heater.
It's reversed, though. It's just the weird part, right? The reverse mindset of this is our role players are going to have more of a green light from 3 than our big 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because the big 3 is going to constantly be reminded, we don't mind you going in there getting those 2s because you're excellent at doing it, right? That's the analytical mindset, which I'm not into the analytic part at a high level at all. I like the idea of using the 3 as a weapon, but I don't like the idea of using a 3 as your only weapon.
Yeah.
And that's always been my problem.
EJ's third and final prediction is that the Suns will be the best 3-point shooting team in the league. Now, just for reference, last year, OKC shot 38.5% from 3. That was the league's best last year. The Suns were 4th at 38.1%. And let's just go with this, something maybe you didn't know. The last 3 seasons, the Suns are third in the league in 3-point percentage at 38.2. The first 2 are irrelevant because it's Charlotte and Washington, which I would have never guessed. They would have been number 1 and 2 in the league in terms of 3-point percentage the last 3 seasons. But the Suns are the best playoff team in that group. So your prediction of them being the best 3-point shooting team in the league would not surprise me at all.
Yeah. I mean, look, when you got Grayson, Damian Lee coming back, those two, when healthy, they're always up there at the top. So you got those 2 right there. And then you got a host of the other guys that really have worked on their shot. You know, Bobo gets in there. He's a threat from 3. Ryan Dunn has proved to us in this preseason that given the opportunity, he's not afraid to shoot it, and he made it at a high level. So I think Nurkic is going to take some this year. So I think everybody that steps on the floor is, I think, not going to be hesitant to shoot it. You know, Royce O'Neal, I thought shot the ball well in the preseason from 3. And Josh Okogie, obviously, he's improved his shot. Like, so I think everybody feels comfortable doing it. And if they just move the ball, one thing about this team, and it was even last year, they're very unselfish moving the ball around. So it's not like, you know, you got selfish guys out there taking shots. And, yeah, Katie and Devin were trying to play point guard. I thought that kind of bogged things down at times. You know, should I go? Should I pass? Should I shoot? They had to think about all those things. Now we got Tyus Jones out there, Monty Morris, to take that leadership in that area, and it's going to make it a lot easier.
I mean, I hope so. What I've been encouraged about in the preseason so far is just how much easier the flow of the game has felt as opposed to last season because of that very reason. Like nobody's overthinking out there. It just feels like it's just, you know, the ball is moving. Listen, we both know you can have 2 different styles of teams who both pass the ball and are unselfish, but one looks better than the other because we've seen it. We've seen a team like, for instance, let's go to the college game, right? You look at a team like Virginia who passes the ball a lot, but they're a low scoring team. They're not a high efficiency scoring team. Like it's just a little different. And then you go to a team maybe like an Arizona who's just a little bit more free flowing and they pass the ball and they're unselfish. And that's or even my K-State Wildcats. Look at this. You know what I mean?
It's already basketball season.
It's already basketball season in Arizona, in Tucson, baby. So hey, listen, it's just one of those things where I do agree with you. I think that Bud is going to incorporate such a free-flowing offense, or a little bit easier of an offense that these guys are going to be able to score at a very, very high clip. My last prediction is that, listen, Cam Johnson, Damian Lee, and Grayson Allen, all 3 shunned by the All-Star game the last couple seasons, despite being one of the best 3-point shooters in the game. I think this year the Suns will have a representative in the 3-point contest at All-Star Weekend, and I do believe that will be Grayson Allen. I think Grayson Allen will follow up his outstanding 3-point shooting year last year again, and be one of the best 3-point shooters in the game, especially coming off the bench. I'm really looking forward to what Grayson Allen's going to do. Hopefully he comes back from injury soon, but I really like the chances that the Suns will be represented in that regard, because they're going to be, listen, if your prediction comes true that they're going to be the best 3-point shooting team in the league, why would you not have a representative in the 3-point shootout? I know we've seen this story before and it has not worked out in our favor. I think the NBA will learn their lesson.
Yeah, and look, he should have been there last year. That was a joke. But, you know, he was public and he wasn't too gung-ho about going. What I would have told Grayson, this career in the NBA is very short. So any chance you have an opportunity to go represent yourself because of a feat that you've accomplished, you got to go do it, because you'll look back when you're done and you'll wonder why I didn't do it, right? So I think it all depends on how Damian Lee gets healthy and how he fits into a role and all of that. If he can get himself back to that guy, I think he'll be in the running. I truly do. The guy can flat out shoot the 3. But also KD. And the thing is, what I don't like is, KD already will be at the All-Star game. So then they'll say, I'm not saying the league is saving money by doing that, but we've seen it over the years where they would give it to a guy that they know is already going to be there. And I don't like that, So I think KD is very efficient from three, so he has an opportunity to be in it as well.
We do have a super chat from the one, the only, Psycho Blue, as always. Appreciate your super chat. And it says, B-Ball Cthulhu wonders if our defensive woes are due to the lack of grit or lack of a superstar whistle. 53 wins sounds about right, by the way. I don't know. Defensively in the preseason, I don't really care. But I don't know. You've been there courtside. Defensively, do you think?
Well, we block shots. Like we got guys that can block shots, right? Nurkic is, he'll block shots at the rim, not out of position, which means like going from point A to point B. He's not a great shot blocker because but he's gotten a little quicker because he's lost weight. So we don't know on that end, but we know KD can block shots. We know Bobo can block shots. So Oso can block shots. So we have guys now that can block shots. So, our defense is not going to be tremendously great, but I think it's going to be good. It'll be organized. Like spacing on offense leads to better defense at the other end. And it seems like offensively, we're going to have that kind of spacing to when you retreat back, you're balanced. That's the great teams historically. That's what they've always done. That's why the Bulls were so great back in the day. And the Lakers, when they start running the triangle, is because they're so spaced and they're in their positions that when they do miss, everybody's so balanced. When you retreat back, it's hard to get an advantage on them getting back up the court quickly. And that's what it's all about. And the Milwaukee teams that Budenholzer coached were the same way. They were able to have that good balance defensively, and they didn't cross match up and all of that and get out of place, and all of a sudden teams are getting wide open shots. I think the Suns will be much better defensively this year than they were last.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at preseason, you want to see samples of high caliber play, but you're not expecting. Listen, you're not scheming anybody really in the preseason. It's pretty rudimentary. And so I think when you get into this season, you'll see this team is going to be just fine defensively. I don't think they're going to be world beaters. I don't think they're going to be one of those teams where you look at it, you're like, oh man, we got our work cut out for us on the defensive side of things to a high level. But I do think that they can legit be a top 10 defensive unit in the league. I think they have that kind of talent, especially when you see guys like Devin Booker really take the onus on that defensive side and really want to play at a high level. That causes everybody else to have to get on board as well. So I see that. I could see that.
Look, Devin, KD, and Brad Beal, they're not bad defensive players. They're good defensive players. It's unfortunate that people don't get and understand that they have two responsibilities, right? They gotta score at the other end, which exerts a ton of energy, and then they gotta turn it around and go play D. They sometimes want to compare guys to guys that they don't have a responsibility to score, and so he's a better defender than Devin. Yeah, because his job on the offensive end is not as combustible as Devin's is. So it's a difference, okay? So it's like working a full-time job and a part-time job. You're not going to say the guy that just has just a full-time job against your two jobs, is working harder than you or he's better than you. Like, you'll look at your two jobs and say, man, I'm a lot stronger than him. That's exactly where it is. So I think defensively they'll be fine as long as they have good balance. And I think good shot taking leads to good defense at the other end.
Yeah. Well, I think, I'm just excited for this season. I know you are. And it all kicks off on Wednesday. So you can check out our pre- and post-game shows at PHNX Suns here live. Obviously, you're going to have Lindsay. Gerald will be here in studio along with Stephen and Eric Ruby. And also, we want to give a huge congrats to Eric Ruby behind the Mac. He is still our producer for now, but he has moved over to being on the PHNX Sun show as a host as well. So congratulations on that.
As a host.
Yeah, he's now going to be a host.
I'm going to try to make you proud, Eddie.
You got a good radio voice.
I used to be on the radio.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got a good face for radio.
That is true. It's a real underdog story.
I knew it was coming. The jab was coming. You have to be ready.
I think we're just going to blur out my side of the screen.
Well, one thing we do know, when you start doing your podcast, okay, you gotta, go improve the wardrobe. You can't be over there with, what is that you have on?
Oh, Arizona. This is a nice sweater, Eddie. That's a nice sweater.
He is looking a little homeless over there.
Yeah.
Looking a little homeless.
Yeah, those shorts.
Homeless is in.
Those shorts and them socks. I don't know.
What's wrong with my socks? What's wrong with my socks, Eddie?
All right. Somebody's that's been this kind of making the rounds and kind of trending last week. And I just thought, listen, this is a good feel good moment that we want to try and make sure that we acknowledge. And when you look at Quincy Olivari, 23-year-old product out of Xavier, he's a rookie playing for the Lakers. Got a chance to play against Steph and the Warriors, and also KD, Book, and the Suns, and he had some comments about both, and just wanted to put this on your radar and get your thoughts.
We saw Steph Curry having some words with you on the court after the game. What can you tell us about that conversation?
Man, it's crazy because I've liked him since I was in like 6th grade. Like, I don't even know what to say, man, because like that's my favorite player ever. And the first thing he told me was like, I'm a big fan of your game. And like, truth be told, I'm a big fan of him. Like I had his jersey. He signed it twice. I used to sleep under that jersey, and like I just wanted to be like him so bad. And so just to be able to meet him, him be able to have some respect for me, and then us to talk in the back, he gave me a pair of his shoes and signed them. Like that meant the world to me, man. Like my dad knows, my mom knows. Like it just means a lot. And like I don't know, it just means a lot. When we played the Suns, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker knew my name, and it was just like the biggest surprise. I'm 23 years old, but every time I put on an NBA jersey or come to an NBA practice, I'm that eight-year-old kid that's just begging my dad to take me to an NBA game. And so coming out today, I didn't know I was starting until the game when we went through our scout before the game, and I was just like, wow, first career NBA start in the last game. I've had this great feeling all day. Why not capitalize?
I mean, listen, I think a lot of us can relate to what Quincy feels about meeting, your quote unquote hero, right? Mm-hmm. And like the emotion that must have been going through him to keep his composure in front of that individual, but then go and talk about it behind the scenes, and really it sets in. You could tell it set in for him. Like, man, I really just met my idol, like my hero, like my number one guy that I've tried to model my game after. Listen, professional athletes, they get burned sometimes because either they share their opinion or they show emotion, and some people look at them and think, oh, well, there's a certain way you should conduct yourself and you should never let somebody else look at you, blah, blah, blah. Miss me with all that stuff. Like the fact that he was able to express himself and feel something that I think any one of us, if we ever met that one person, right, we would feel similarly. Like it's a huge moment for you, right? And so listen, I didn't know much about the kid before, but man, I'm a big fan of him now, and I really hope. And he did get converted to a 2-way contract, so congrats to Quincy. Hopefully his NBA dreams will come true. But man, that was just a really humble moment.
Well, I mean, it's so many stories like that. You pretty much interview most players, young players that come into the league. They're going to have like favorites that they look forward to competing against. And
Who was it for you?
hopefully, well, I was going to get to that one.
Okay.
But hopefully, get a chance to meet them. For me, coming into the league, Dr. J was probably the first person that I looked forward to playing against. Larry Bird, even though, Larry Bird and I was around the same age, but he just came into the league 2 years earlier than me. But still, to have a chance to play against him, Magic, I've been knowing him since high school, so it wasn't anything different for me playing against him. But to see Kareem for the first time, to see how big Artis Gilmore was, because I watched him when he played for the Bulls. It was just guys like that, man. It was just the transition was happening when I came into the league. Like those older players I watched were leaving the league. Marcus Johnson, was always a player that I looked at. But the player that I actually learned my game from and really idolized, it was Chet Walker. He played with the Bulls years ago. He's a Hall of Famer. He and Bob Love were two of the guys that I tried to emulate my game after. They weren't great athletes, but they were able to score. And I knew that was me. And yeah, man. So it's George Gervin. There's just so many guys, man. And the great thing about it is I didn't never hesitate, Saul, to try to stand next to them and get advice or ask a question of them. Like I would. And every one of them was always open to saying something. And that's the thing that people don't get. Like, this is a fraternity, man. Like, I know people, and I do too. I want people to compete. But it still is a fraternity. And I think the fraternity is too, publicly close in today's game. I don't like the fact that guys are hugging on each other and all of that during games and after games. I never spoke to them like that. If I spoke to Dr. J, you didn't see me speak to Dr. J. Yeah. Because I was trying to bust him up, But today's game, man, these guys laugh and joke during the course of the game, hug each other. I'm like, no, I can't deal with that. But I understand it too in the same instance. It's a fraternity, man. It'll never be broken at all. And we're always going to have that bond. And it's between sports too. You saw with my helping hands. I mean, I had just as many Cardinals as I had basketball players there. And I'm all good friends with them. So that's just the way it is.
I would love to hear everybody else's like one person that if they ever met, it doesn't have to be sports, right? Like it could be in any avenue, that one person that if you met, you might be a little speechless or, taken aback, especially if they knew you. Like that would be, that's pretty cool. Eric, do you have one?
Is that how you felt when you met Eddie?
No.
He did cry.
No.
He cried a little tear.
I saw him. I was like, is this dude crying?
No.
I started to ask him. I mean,
no. Come on.
I remember when I first met Saul, he came up to me. Hey man, how you doing, man? I'm Saul. My name's Saul. He was a little bit intimidated.
That is not how that
went
down.
Was intimidated.
Really? Then how did it go, Saul?
First of all, like, I don't think I talked to Eddie. The first time I ever met Eddie, he was going to the media room downstairs at the Footprint. He turned the corner, and I almost bumped into him. And he said something.
Hurt yourself.
That's exactly what he said. He said, "Don't hurt yourself." And then he walked by me, and that was it. And I just was like, okay. Now, he was laughing. Obviously, he wasn't being, a jerk or anything like that. And every time he would come up to go do the post-game, his hit on post-game show with Tom Leander and Tom Chambers, he would walk by me because I would still be at the press box, typing up stuff. And, if the Suns won, we'd just kind of do this. The Suns lost. It was like, that was it. That was no talking or anything like that. It was just facial expressions.
Mutual respect.
Yeah.
What's understood is understood. Yeah.
I don't even remember the first time I talked to EJ about doing this. Like, I just have such a bad memory. So it's not really on him. It's on me. Anyway, so mine would be Michael Jordan. Like if I met Michael Jordan,
I feel
I don't know. I like to think I'm pretty cool. Like I met Magic Johnson and he was right there. But like Magic was like who I wanted to be like on the court. But Michael was like my basketball god, right?
Really? What would you do?
I don't know, man. I'd probably be too nervous to say anything.
So if Mike comes to Phoenix and, I get him to come to a game or something like that or whatever, you'd cry?
I'm not going to, listen, I wouldn't cry in front of him. I know that. But I would be, I would be a little starstruck. I would.
One of my buddies named Jeff Carter. He is, I'm telling you, undoubtedly Michael Jordan's #1 fan. When I tell you,
Saul's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, Saul, I'm telling you, this dude has every periodical, every book, pictures. He knows every stat. I'm serious. Like, when I tell you this dude, you go in his house, in his dining room, he got pictures of Michael Jordan. It's crazy. Like, he's a grown-ass man.
Mm.
And I'm like, do you have a picture under your pillow? Like, you like staring at Mike? Like, you know what I mean? Pull a picture out. Let me go there. And so we were at ASU one day. And that's when Mike was, obviously, in ownership with the Wizards. And I think it was something going on there. I don't know what it was. It was an NBA something, pro something, where he was there watching, potential NBA players. He was sitting in the stand. And I saw him over there. So I took Jeff. I said, come on, Jeff, let's go over there. And I took him over there. Man, that dude about used the restroom on himself. I'm not kidding you, man. We sat right next to Mike, and I'm just messing with him. We talking junk. And I introduced him to Jeff. And Jeff just sat there and and Mike, was very open, talking to him. Realized he knew the game. But Jeff was just looking at him like, I'm like, hey man, that's not Halle Berry.
I mean, listen, you never know how you're going to respond in those situations. Like, listen, first of all, hello, calm down. I said, I like to think I'm cool. What I meant to say was, I think I'm pretty cool around athletes, and I'm never really starstruck with anybody. That's why I've always said, the things that I say on the show, if I saw Book or KD in person and they were like, what'd you say? I would tell them exactly what I said, because I don't care. Like, that's just, you should be authentic to who you are. And if you can't stand on that, then go somewhere else. The other thing I wanted to bring up was, listen, there's this kid who was, that's where we're going next, right?
Yeah, we can go there.
Yeah. So there's this kid who needed to make 4 shots in 25 seconds in order to win $10,000. And this kid ain't, he's not he's a tiny little guy, right? But he comes out, hits his first 2. You're like, okay, all right, cool. Hits this third one, cash. All right, now he's got to hit this half-court shot. Now I'm looking at this kid. I'm like, there's just how's he even going to get the ball all the way down there? But obviously he does, and he hits it. $10K for this kid, and you just know whoever put that on was like, there's no chance any of these kids can do this in 25 seconds, and they just lost $10,000.
That's amazing.
It's pretty cool, right?
And you know what that would do for that kid, who obviously has a very good shot and can play, obviously. He'll be in the league one day. Like, it's certain things that happen to you when you're young that just propels you. Basically, doing what he just did, what it does now, it lifts him to a professional mindset, to where now he has to live up to what he did. Mm-hmm. And so now it pushes him to a level that he has to get up and go work on his game every day. Like, basketball is first and foremost, because why? Every time somebody sees this kid now, they're going to recall what he did.
Yeah.
And he's got to live up to those expectations. That was me and any other person that have made the NBA and they've done well, or they've had a chance to make it. That's what pushes you, is the fact that successes that you have when you're young can lift you to move forward in the future and give you confidence. So, man, that's great for that kid. If anybody ever finds out what his, if he's on social networking or whatever, I'd love to follow that kid and say something to him, because that right there, man, I wish every kid can experience that and have a really great chance to be able to achieve their dreams, because that's amazing.
We're going to get into a little bit of a slightly heavier topic. But first, I do want to bring up, listen, if you're not a diehard yet, you need to become a diehard. We have a bunch of content that's behind the paywall that is fantastic, written by our some of the best writers here in the Valley, and Gerald Bourget, Craig Morgan, Jesse Friedman. Become a diehard. You get access to events like a watch party that we have going on for the season. I'm sorry, the season opener. Actually, no, it's not the season opener, right? It's the second game against the Lakers.
Yeah, second game.
And it's out there at Gila River Wild Horse Pass. So check that out. It's a fun time. If you've never gone out and experienced it, you should. everybody just has a great time talking Suns and going out to hang. And also, there is a golf tournament next weekend as well. It's kind of a CHGO versus a PHNX golf tournament out at the Raven. So if you have some time, you should go ahead and grab yourself a little foursome, come on out, compete, and represent Phoenix the best way possible. So become a diehard today. Get yourself access to these events. They're fantastic. You get that at a discount rate, obviously, if you're a diehard as well. So, all right. So Tony Bennett retired from the University of Virginia abruptly. And obviously, we're weeks away from games actually counting. A lot of teams are starting their exhibition season now. It is very, very much a volatile time in sports when it comes to NIL and college athletics. I want you to hear what Tony Bennett has to say, and then I would really love to hear your opinion, EJ, on the state of college basketball.
I think it's right for players, student athletes to receive revenue. Please don't mistake me. I do. I think it is. But the game and college athletics is not in a healthy spot. It's not. And there needs to be change. And it's not going to go back. I think I was equipped to do the job here the old way. And that's who I am, and that's how it was. And my staff has buoyed me along to get to this point. But there needs to be change. It's going to be closer to a professional model, Coach Carlisle. I think it is, where there's got to be collective bargaining. There has to be a restriction on the salary pool that teams can spend. There has to be transfer regulation restrictions. There has to be some limits on the agent involvement to these young guys. And there are good agents and there are bad agents, and they're driving some of this stuff that we're in. And I worry a lot about the mental health of the student athletes as all this stuff comes down. And it's sometimes when you're in it, you have to step away, and maybe I can be an advocate for the student athletes and the coaches to get the changes. But this is a place that will not compromise and do it the right way. And I wish it could be me, but it can't. And when you know in your heart it's the time, you have to give it away.
All right. There's a lot to unpack there, and I know there's a lot of people that have differing opinions, but I think the two things that I agree with the most, one, the freedom of transferring, I think, is just very, very bad all the way around. Like, you don't get an opportunity to establish anything with a player. You're constantly having to recruit them, even when they're in your program, and it doesn't necessarily mean, like, listen, you're going to have better players than you sometimes. And you're going to have to work harder to overcome some of those better players. And I think today's model presents the opportunity to not have to work as hard because you could just leave and go somewhere else where you think it's going to be more ideal for you. And I think that has cost a lot of players. And then the second thing, obviously, is not only the transfer, but the regulating of everything, right? There is no industry out there where if you sign a contract that you could just up and leave whenever and not have to have some type of either a buyback or a payback, a buyout, or any of that stuff. Like, I just think it's all over. The agent part that he talked about also, listen, I've dealt with this firsthand with a couple individuals when it came to NIL. And I think some of these people just they genuinely do not have the athlete's best interest in mind whatsoever. Like, I am vehemently opposed to some of these people that are in these spaces trying to take advantage of kids, recruiting kids when they're in high school, and basically forcing parents sometimes to make a decision on who's going to represent them based on information that's not really whole. And it is really tough out there. You've lived it as a college athlete at a high level, and you've been a professional. College sports and recruiting was wildly different back then. I know there was under the table payments and here and this, the kind of stuff, and I'm not saying that you got any of that, but what is your opinion when you hear that?
First, that's a lot to unpack. Tony Bennett, I know him. We were teammates in Charlotte.
Coach.
We were teammates in Charlotte.
Oh, wow.
So I had him as a rookie. Good basketball player. Nice guy. Pretty much knew he had coach in him because his dad was a coach. So I knew he had a great future, but I totally freaking disagree with him here. They're putting it on the kids like it's their fault. No. It's the NCAA's fault. and you coaches are a part of it. You dudes were hogging all the damn money for all these years. You were hogging it. NCAA penalizing players for having to go eat with somebody. Like if somebody invited you to their home and they were alumni, they would suspend you. All those years that you tried to find ways to put your foot on athletes and take all the damn money. Now it's an issue. Right? But if you had given in years ago, and slowly allowed players to put themselves in position. I had to go to a university, and because I was on scholarship, I couldn't work.
Mm-hmm. I remember
Are you freaking kidding me? Or I would be ineligible. Somebody gave me a dime. I'm ineligible. But yet, you had guys sitting somewhere in Kansas, okay, taking all the damn money, and then you had these coaches that they'll recruit you to their school, and they'll tell you they love you, and all of this and this and that, and as soon as somebody else offered their ass money, they're gone. But you couldn't transfer even though he left. Mm-hmm. So now the new coach comes in, he might not have liked you, and you're stuck? Man, go kick rocks with that. I don't care. I know anything that starts is not going to be smooth. Yes, some things have to be worked out. I totally agree. But Tony Bennett is not the one. Nick Saban was not the one. Don't want to hear it from you dudes, because you dudes got paid, and you got paid off of athletes. Matter of fact, you were forcing athletes to wear certain shoes, and you were getting paid for it. Not buying it. Yes, some of the things need to be smoothed out. No problem there. But you know what? It takes time. And eventually it will get smoothed out. But I don't want to hear them complaining, because they have been getting paid. You got college coaches making close to $100 million. Mm-hmm. Okay? And these kids might make $1 million or $2 million, and you making $100 million. Man, go kick freaking rocks. Seriously. I'm dead serious. Matter of fact, you owe me money. Don't want to hear it, man. I don't want to hear it. I know it's rocky right now, but the transfer part, please. When you coaches just jump and leave. Bill Self went to Illinois, and within a year, we knew he was using as a lily pad. And as soon as he could jump to Kansas, he jumped. Don't want to hear it, man. I just don't. It's just so hypocritical. I don't want to hear coaches saying nothing. Coaches and them dudes that smoking them cigars in them back rooms, making all that money, don't want to hear it. These players, work them. Work them. Now they're getting what they deserve. They don't like it now because they want control. I get the control part, and I'll finish. I get the control part because I think maturity-wise, it's good for a coach to have some control. Now, did I say one time that coaches still can't get paid all that money?
No.
I didn't say that. So coaches, you still going to make more than the players. So don't want to hear it. You can put your foot on them and you can control them, but you got to know how to keep them too. So if that dude wants to transfer, maybe it's something you did. Maybe he does not like you as a coach.
I don't know about that.
Hey.
Because listen, man, there's as pure as you're going to try and make it seem cool, you know for a fact that there are opportunities out there. For instance, I know of a fact of a top 15 program that had a player that was poached because the other school wanted to offer them $400,000 more. Like, that is a legitimate thing. Like, and that doesn't mean that the program is bad. Like, it might have been a great program for him and they thrived, but some other school just offered you double what you were getting. And so because they have the alumni or they have the base to be able to do that, so now that player is going to take off and go for more money. Like, again, get your money. That's fine. But you don't want to be a situation where it ultimately ends up like where baseball is, right? Where the Dodgers and the Yankees, because they're the most, profitable franchises in baseball. They're the ones that can throw these ridiculous salaries at players and hog all the good
everybody.
product. I know they don't get everybody, but they have a bigger advantage than everybody else.
That's fine.
A team like Boise State can't compete against a team like Alabama.
No, they can't.
When it comes to NIL. It's not the same thing. So there should be a structure to it.
No, they can't. And like I said, I have no issue.
But that was the fun part about college basketball. I have
no issue with them coming up with a salary cap or all of that. And I think eventually that will come. But this is the beginning of this. The beginning is always rocky. I just don't want to hear coaches and all these people complaining. It's going to get better. Trust me. Oh, yes, it is.
It's been going on for 3 years now.
No, that's not long enough yet.
Ugh.
The NBA has been around forever, and they finally have gotten to a point.
EJ, look at what's happening already. You're talking about the Big Ten and the SEC, because of money, are going to try and consolidate at some point down the road.
Well, they are consolidating.
Make one
Big
super
10
conference,
is like a Big 20.
And you're leaving teams like
the Big 10 is already a super conference. It's got 20 teams. It used to be the Big 10.
That's not great for sports.
Well, listen. No, I truly like that. I like the fact that all the big schools should be able to have a super conference, and then you'll have the lower level schools have their own. I truly believe that. And they compete against each other because they're never going to win against these teams. Come on. How many times have you seen an undefeated football team not get into the playoff because they were going against a big team? They picked the big team, even if Alabama lost 2 games and the other team was undefeated. They still going to jump them. So if that's the case, they should have their own super conference.
But that's not right.
It is right. They should have. They should have their own.
How do you know Central Florida wouldn't have beat one of the teams in the college football playoff when they went undefeated?
They haven't. Every team that has snuck in there, they've gotten blown out. So my point is, because it's not about the team, it's about the recruiting. Most players are going to go to a more popular school. That's just the way it is. So if that's the case, stop competing against them. Compete against schools that are just like you, and you will have more success over the years. It might not be that way early on, but 10 years down the line, people will understand the separation. But you can't compete against the Notre Dames and the Alabamas of the world. You can't, Ohio States. You will never. So why even try?
I hope Illinois gets relegated to the Sun Belt.
They are good. But my point is, but Illinois is one of them rich schools. That campus dwarfs most campuses you're going to go to. They got money. So that's the point. So I think we have to have a separation. And then, 5-star players are normally going to go to those schools anyway.
No, I know that.
So there you go. So the 5-star players are going to go to those schools anyway. So you're getting the 3 and the 4. You might as well have your own conference. I have said that, man, till I'm blue in the face. You're not going to win. You're not. I'm telling you, you're not. You're not.
I just disagree because we've seen it before. We've seen
you saw it in basketball.
In basketball, we've seen it before. So why can't that model work in football?
But they didn't win a title. They might get to the Final Four. And then they get blasted. That's the point. Their championship is like Butler that year, getting to the championship.
Gonzaga has been historically a great program.
Gonzaga is an exception to the rule. I've said that. You've heard me say that. Mark Few is one of the best coaches out there, and he keeps players for 4 years, and that's how they're able to compete, right? When you get schools like Ivy League schools that keep players 4 years, they can get in the tournament, and then they can do damage and beat a big team because they've been together, and they're playing freshmen and sophomores that are 5-star but aren't ready to win. I get that. It's going to be upsets, but over the long period of time, they're not going to beat out these teams, man. Because 5-star players are going to that school. So I disagree with Tony Bennett. I know he got to close. I disagree with him on that. I just think I don't want to hear a coach complaining. I just don't. He retired. He quit, right? You know why he can quit? You know why Tony Bennett can quit?
Because he's got money?
Because he's made a freaking lot of money. That's why. So I don't want to hear it.
Okay.
All right. I'm out.
All right. Before we end the show, want to give some love, actually, to my guy EJ. He won an award last week And it was the Integrity in Sports Award by the Workplace Integrity Institute. There he is with his beautiful wife, Joy, getting the award. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, it was big.
Cool.
Jared Colangelo, obviously is head of that. And, Greg Ostro, I hope I pronounced that right, Greg. Those two have come together and they've created an Integrity Award. And like I said, it's no U-Haul behind a hearse.
No.
So I'm trying to leave everything that I can. I want people to freaking miss me, but in a good way, right? In a good way. Some won't. And you know who you are out there that don't like some of my tweets and how I stand and where I reside. And to that, I'll tell you to go kick rocks. It does not matter. But I like most people to think that I try to do it the right way. And so that was a tremendous award. And yeah.
We're going to get to Helping Hands here in a second. Selfishly, I got to give some love to my daughter because I can. She was named the homecoming queen down there.
Oh, congrats.
This weekend down there in Sierra Vista Buena High School. So congrats, Ava. Love you. Very proud of you. She's got a side to her that I do not have. She is likable. She is friendly, and she is just a social butterfly, and that is everything that I am not. So, just love her to death for being able to do things that I could never even dream of. And then finally, listen, EJ does such a great job all year long in trying to promote Helping Hands for single mothers, and their event with the poker last Thursday, golf on Friday, and then the charity dinner on Saturday night was just amazing. Sean Marion was out there. He was the one that was getting roasted. And Casey Jacobson, Kurt Thomas, and EJ were the ones that roasted him. It was just fantastic event. So much so that they raised over $500,000 this week alone for Helping Hands with Single Mothers, which is an organization that gives back to single moms who are trying to get their degree. They've got a lot of things that they're trying to juggle, from education expenses to expenses for rent and car work and things of that nature. It's just fantastic. Congrats to you and the whole crew. Joy, your wife, did a great job of organizing everything, and all the volunteers. Chris, the main one that's in charge of Helping Hands, does. Listen. It's a top tier organization that does a great job for the community.
Yeah, Chris Kaufman, he's executive director, and his dream was to create this. And I just joined him in that effort after finding out a lot about Helping Hands for single moms. And look, you saw the link on here. You can still go there and donate, and you're helping single moms be the heroes in their home. And that's what I'm all about. I come from a single mom environment. My mom's 95 years old right now, still strong, very active. She was at the event.
She was.
And, so we always want to reward single parent households, and we have actually targeted the moms. And it's dads out there that are single parents as well. But we have targeted the moms, and we send them to school. We had about 25 of them up on stage the other night, just rewarding them and letting people see them from all ethnicities. And so that's the beautiful part about it. Over close to, over $2.5 million over the last number of years. So we really enjoy it. And next year, you all got to come to it. It's a great weekend. Like I said, the poker was a $20,000 pot. Saul got a nice little piece of that. And the golf tournament, huge, with celebrities, had a great time at Talking Stick Resort Golf Course. And then the other night, the event. So Sean Marion was great. You'll get to see some video of it coming up here once we edit it and get it out there. It was pretty funny. Sean was great for us, and Sean watches our podcast. So thanks, Sean, for joining us. And that's it. All right, get ready for next year.
He took the ribbing very well. Also gave some back, obviously, which is, part of the whole roast construct. So again, congrats to you and the whole crew for the amount of money raised this week. And again, like, you got to come out and check it out, because the event itself is just top tier. It's so much fun. A lot of guys just giving each other a bunch of crap on the golf course. A lot of guys giving each other crap at the poker table. Top 15 that place came away with some cash. And so you could be part of that crew. 127 people participated.
Surprised you even
tournament.
showed up today with all the money in your pocket, Saul.
I mean, listen, there was so much money that I couldn't fit it in my pocket, so I had to leave it at home with the missus, because she takes care of all that stuff.
Way down the car too much.
I'm out of here. That make me want.
We all ain't built the same, but we appreciate you guys for joining us on another episode of Outside Shots. Follow my guy Jump Shot 8 on Twitter and on Instagram. You can follow me at Saul_Bookman, and make sure you watch PHNX Suns as they get you ready for this upcoming season. Until next time, folks. Peace.
I'm broke.